Hi everyone, this is Hope. I'm doing my first booktube. Said it right. This is probably like the third or fourth time I've attempted this booktube video for my new channel, Prose Before Bros. Um, just a heads up, you're probably going to hear my dogs yapping in the background. I am sorry about that. We actually live on a very busy street, and I'm sure he's hearing some neighborhood kids outside. So, um, you'll probably hear some barking, and I apologize for that ahead of time. But anyhow, today I wanted to do my first booktube video for Prose Before Bros, focusing on a book that I just recently read. I read this book, I would say I started it on, I believe it was Sunday. Today's now Wednesday. This book has been going through the booktube community quite a bit recently. And a lot of it is mixed reviews. I had a couple bit reviews that came through on my feed that was not too favorable, and I'm leaning towards the not too favorable right now, but I'm trying to keep it an optimistic approach, if you will. The only thing about it is this book just left me scratching my head more than any other book possibly has done. I'm usually pretty quick to determine whether I hate a book or love it, and I don't know with this one. There's things I absolutely cannot stand about, and then there's things that I do admire about it. So I'm just going to jump into it. The book that we're going to be discussing today is going to be Between the Devil and the Deep Blue Sea. It's not a brand new read. It's been out for a little while, but it's by an author by the name of April Genevieve Tucholke. That's what I'm going with, and if I'm wrong there, I apologize profusely. But anyhow, the summary of the book, I'm just going to read it right from the back. I'm going to then go into some of the reviews that are very, very vague on this book. Obviously, you always have those little reviews inside the insert. But anyhow, the book is, on the back, it says, "You stop fearing the devil when you're holding his hand. Children are disappearing. Groups of young boys and girls form small armies to hunt for a monster. People are seeing things that shouldn't be there and doing things that shouldn't be done. And it all starts when an irresistible guy named River West shows up in Violet White's sleepy seaside town." Okay, remember, River West, not Rivers Cuomo, not the other emo. We're talking about River West here in this book. Is River somehow connected? Is he just a crooked smile liar with pretty eyes and a mysterious past? Or is he something more? Violet's grandmother always warned her about the devil, but she never said he could be a dark-haired boy who takes naps in the sun, who likes coffee, who kisses you in a cemetery, who makes you want to kiss back. So, just reading that, and this is actually the first time I've actually read the summary on the back of the book. I'm just thinking Twilight, and I'm like, you know, if I would have read this part, like if I would have read that back of the book prior to actually reading the book, it probably would have made me drop the book altogether because it just seems so Twilight-y. I'm expecting a shiny emo boy now, but anyhow, some of the reviews that it has on the book inserts is, Entertainment Weekly said, "Looking for a dark and eerie read? Look no further." The Atlantic Wire called it deliciously creepy. Boston Globe gave it a perfect read for stormy summer nights. So, I mean, it runs the gamut. Obviously, it has MTV put their say in there saying that they want this book to be their new boyfriend. I mean, it's pretty drippy with all that teensy stuff. So, not that that's a horrible thing. I'll go ahead and phrase that now. But anyhow, so the reason why I decided to pick up this book was basically for a number of reasons. First off, if you go onto Amazon, a lot of people say that this is like a toned down version to like anything by Rebecca Demore, where Oh God, I messed that up. Anyhow, Rebecca, Daphne du Maurier, I got mixed up. My gosh, that's terrible since she's one of my favorite writers. But anyhow, a lot of people compare it to the old classics like Rebecca, Dragonwyck, those old gothic romantic classics from like the 40s, the 30s, those time frames that we don't see too much of nowadays. Um, the volume is starting to pick up inside that genre. It's starting to have a bit of a comeback, but still, it's kind of one of those old timeless relics. So that was one main reason because I love those kind of books. That's the kind of books that my mom would give me during the summer and tell me, read this, get out of my hair, essentially, and then kind of tell me what you think about it. So it was one of those things where I think I was trying to get reminiscent to that time where I would read these books on a regular basis. Um, so I think that's what I was kind of doing here. I'm on vacation right now, and I wanted to read a book that would bring me back to more of an innocent time, if you will. So, I read that part. Amazon had those reviews up, giving it that vibe that it's going to be something that is catered to people like me that love those kind of books. Another reason why, and this a lot of people are not going to understand this, is like a morbid curiosity. One of the booktube channels that I watch frequently and I absolutely love, and I can't remember what the name is. Um, the booktuber mentioned that she read this book and she was not a fan of it. And her reasoning for not being a fan of it was more of the relationship. So we got the two main characters, Violet, and we got River. Not River's Cuomo. I want to say that one more time. River. River comes to town. Within a 2-day span, River and Violet somehow develop a romantic relationship, in the sense that they sleep in the same bed with each other. Okay, that's kind of unusual. I don't just hop into bed with a stranger and take naps with them. Granted, they didn't do anything beyond that. It was awkward. It was really awkward. And also, the scene that really triggered it for me is River has the ability to control. Try not to give too much spoiler here. River has the ability to control feelings, it seems like. He's got what is called the glow. They don't go into great detail. The author doesn't go into great detail about what this said glow is, but it's like a supernatural thing where he can basically manipulate your thoughts, your actions, all this. And it's really driven in this book. And a lot of the time when you're sitting here reading this book and you're reading through Violet's perspective, because the whole book is under Violet's perspective, you often wonder if her interaction with River is actually a genuine interaction, if she really does feel what she feels for him, or if it's just a ploy, essentially. So there's one scene that's kind of near the end of the book where River and Violet are asleep in his bed. I'm not going to give the reasons why they're asleep in his bed, but there's a reason that he gives why he needs to be near her. So inside the book, she is like asleep and she's having this dream where something essentially sexual happens between the two. It's not like full-blown sexual interaction, but it involves them undressing each other, and that's about it. And she wakes up, she discovers that her and River are naked in the bed. So that kind of bugged me, and I think the reason why that bugged me is obviously there was no consensual part involved. Like, I mean, honestly, there's so much you could do in a dream, but it turns out the reason why she had that dream was because he manipulated that dream to happen. Whether it was intentional or non-intentional, it's not really ever said. So it just rubbed me the wrong way. Just to give you background on me, my college that I went to is actually a fairly well-known college because it came up with what is called SOPP, which is a consensual request. If you put in SOPP in Google and put in Antioch College, you're going to get a lot of information that comes back. It was in the news all over the place. It was developed in the 90s. So it's been drilled in my head since I was a student at Antioch that you always give consent. So that threw up a huge flag for me. I was not a fan of that at all. And, you know, just from my personal experience, you know, I've had cases of sexual harassment. I've been through it. It's just, yeah, I did not like that part of the book. In fact, just to tell you how I felt about the book, you're going to see these tabs in here. I got yellow and pink. Pink, for whatever reason, I chose that as, oh, I like that. Yellow, I chose that as I don't particularly care for that, or it really bothered me in some way. This pink in the clear back is excluded because it is kind of an advance on the second book that was reading. So usually if I put something that I like in pink, it's because I like the phrase, I like how the characters developed, the imagery is really good. And then with yellow, it's about the same. If I don't like how the characters developed, if something is just off color, I'm going to mark it and make a point of bringing it up in a review later on. So just to give you an example here, inside the first few pages here, one of the things that I really liked was one of the things that Violet had mentioned, I guess inside her personality. So inside this paragraph, our town was small enough that I never developed a healthy fear of strangers. To me, they were exciting things, gift-wrapped and full of possibilities. The sweet smell of somewhere else wafting from them like perfume. And I really like that. I like that kind of that descriptor, if you will. To me, that was essentially nice. Was a nice perspective to look at. But then if you go in here, so there's a scene where River shows up at the house, and another part of this book is it's very unrealistic. Basically, these 17-year-old twins, Violet, her brother, Luke, are in this crumbling mansion by the sea. Their parents are off in Europe doing art, I guess, like just trying to build their art career. So they leave their kids at home, which just doesn't sound legal. But anyhow, they leave their kids at home. The kids basically don't have any money to live on because their parents, their selfish parents, went off to Europe and spent the family wealth, so to speak, trying to pursue their personal gains. So, to me, that's unrealistic. But anyhow, the main premise of the book is that River shows up to this town of Echo. He needs a place to stay. He ends up going on to Violet and Luke's doorstep and rents their guest house. And the kids are so desperate for the money that they decide that this is what they're going to do. They're going to rent out this guest house to a complete stranger. So that's that. So that part was a little bit, but anyhow, there's a part where there's an exchange between Violet, and then there's an exchange between River. River's basically saying, I'm here to rent your guest house. Violet seems like she's confused. He said, you know, the guest house in your backyard, stupid, or something like that. And one of the things that just crawled, it it just caused so much irritants in me, was that she is writing and she's like, how, he said, he didn't say stupid like how Luke has said in the past, blinking at me with narrow eyes and a condescending smile. River said it like it was an ... an endearment. I'm sorry, when somebody's going to call me stupid, that's not an endearment. That's just insulting. So I don't understand why she thought that was endearing. I wouldn't think it was cute, despite, what this guy looks like or his demeanor. I wouldn't find that cute at all. So that was my first red flag. Like, oh, here we go. This is going to be a real treat. And then the second was how Violet perceives herself. So she is talking to the character River, and she says something, like she goes into detail about something, and then she starts thinking she sounds stupid. And she was in this particular sequence, she says, I was beginning to feel stupid, talking on and on like some dumb girl who opens her mouth and lets all of her thoughts fall out of it. I mean, it just does not give a good perception with girls in our period, in our generation. I mean, they're attacked on so many levels. They're attacked on physical beauty standards. They're attacked on intelligence, and that just kind of drives that fear. In my personal opinion, it drives that fear to home for a lot of the girls that possibly would read this book. Like, oh God, I sound so stupid when I say that. Just I didn't like it. I just, it gave me a bad taste in my mouth. And then in addition, her brother Luke, he plays a huge part inside this book. There's actually two other characters that you're going to see a lot of. Luke is one of them, and then her neighbor Sunshine. Sunshine is basically Violet's friend for convenience purposes. She lives next door. Violet is very, I'm trying to think of the best word. I wouldn't say she's like very homebody. She just keeps to herself. So Sunshine becomes that convenient friend next door. And they're nothing alike. And for whatever reason, Luke and Sunshine have an arrangement, so to speak. At least that's how it's perceived in the book. So there are several times where Luke cuts down his sister and cuts down females. There's one instance, and I'll read it right here, just a snippet. Luke stood up, reached around me, and took the port bottle. That's right, Sunshine. We do like drunk girls. What do you think, River? I bet you've had a few drunk girls in your time. Less fuss, I say. My brother paused and took a swig from the bottle. Women are always making it so hard for us men to get the one thing nature intended for us to have. It's such a shame. I mean, I don't think I have to go into detail why that bothered me so bad. And that's his character throughout a majority of the book. This Luke guy basically thinks that it's funny to downsize a woman, especially his sister. There's times where he will like tell his sister to go into the kitchen and fetch him something, or shut up, or there's one scene where she is painting next to River. River's painting something too, and it's like an abstract painting, and he says it's supposed to reflect his thoughts of her, and the brother says something off color like, yeah, she's ugly. I mean, it's just such negative things about the opposite sex, about females. And I'm just thinking to myself, girls are reading this book. Primarily, that's a girl's going to read this book. Guys will probably read it too, but it's primarily driven towards a female audience. And you're putting that kind of negative aspect out there. It just, I was not a fan. I was not a fan of all of it. Um, so here's where I got another thing that was bothering me. And if you guys have read this book and you had thoughts on it, please let me know in the comments below. But one of the things that bothered me quite a bit was the writing style. I just felt like I was reading a fan fiction. You know, I mean, it was one of those things where I didn't have, like, they didn't go into too much detail of this said glow that River has. And some of the things just seemed so choppy. Like at the very end, it felt like it was very rushed to get it done. That way we could get it to the publisher and get it printed. Um, it's not necessarily a bad book. Like I said, it had its moments where I did find it entertaining. Like I said, I do like that gothic background to it, the gothic imagery that comes with it. But it was just one of those things where it just didn't sit well with me. Like it really actually kind of bugged me a little bit after I finished reading it, because I felt like there was so many unfinished answers. Now there is a second book out. The second book is between the, oh, what is it? Between the Shadow and the Burn, I believe. And I am curious to read that, but I'm not gonna. Oh no, it was Between the Spark and the Burn, and it was start with an S. Between the Spark and the Burn. I am curious to read it, but I'm not going to rush out and buy a copy because I just can't live without it. Because I'm almost dreading reading that too, and just seeing what that kind of perspective will be. You know, how women are going to be perceived in that, if there's going to be anything that's borderline non-consensual. You know, I mean, it's just one of those things that I don't know if I could get behind. So, you know, I'll let you guys take that and, you know, reflect. Like I said, I picked this book up out of morbid curiosity because I really wanted to see, you know, if it was something that was out of line. I don't know why I was so curious about it, especially since it's not my desire to find that kind of stuff out. But, you know, it's definitely worth a read if you want to take a look into it and see. I am interested in looking at the second book. Like I said, I'm not going to run out anytime soon to get it. I'll get it in due time. In fact, I might just go on Book Outlet and see if they have a copy of it for really cheap. Not going to pay the full amount, which is like $10. I know that's terrible. But if I'm going to pay a full amount in a book, it's going to be because I like the book. So, with that said, my next step today is to start a new book. The new book I'm going to be starting is going to be The Museum of Heartbreak by Meg Letter. I've heard a lot of great things about this book. It should be a fairly quick read. It is 274 pages, I believe, and it's double spaced, so I am sure, I definitely am going to end up blowing through this, I'm sure, and I'm sure I'm going to like it. A lot of people have been reviewing it. Pages and Pens just recently reviewed it, and there's been a couple books I've read that's on her list that she liked as well. So I do have that feeling that we do have kind of the same, you know, expectations and the same likes in terms of books. So I'm definitely going to give that a read, and then I'll definitely, I said definitely quite a bit today. I'll let you know my thoughts on it. Let's just leave it at that. But anyhow, I just want to thank you guys for taking time out of your day to listen to my perspective of the book, Between the Devil and the Deep Blue Sea. Like I said, I'm eager to hear back if you read it, what your thoughts were. How did you feel about it? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Why? Would you read that sequel? Would you read anything else from this author? Yeah, so if you have those, please feel free to put them in the comments below. If you're still interested in following this channel, I'd love to have subscribers, and possibly we could start a buddy book reading system or anything like that. That way we could get the ball rolling on this. But I do appreciate you hanging out with me this afternoon. I am going to go check on my dogs because they are going crazy downstairs. But thank you so much for tuning into Prose with gosh, I messed it up. Prose before Prose with Hope. And I look forward to seeing you all soon again. Thank you so much. Bye.